Cold call without shame. Puri, same thing, HDFC bank. I knew Puri socially and I went and said, yeah, tu suna tu advertising agency change kar rahe. I said, mere ko de de. Okay, L&D came to me as a gift from DNO. You're lucky to have such a gift. I'd helped them in the takeover battle PR. I have to do it without expecting. I would have helped them for free because I love DNO. Okay, and then their new chairman, SD Kulkarni, was then the CFO under him. So I would have just done it because I like the man. You have to take the maximum pay. So I should take my salary last. See, if you take your salary first, why the contract team stayed with me? You have to give either fame or fortune. I had no fortune to give. You have to give fame. Okay. If you go back in the early 90s, for 5 years running, Agency of the Year, earlier used to be Sachi, Trikaya, that changed. Agency of the Year started becoming Contract Ogilvy. We would, that day, at be a competitive best. The Ogilvies would be boys in black. We would have the noisiest bunch of youngsters. And fortune comes from saying, guys, we're all in it together. We'll pay the PN first. I go last. And then we go up the ladder, depending on when the money is coming in. Reckitt Benckiser, very big client of ours, said we'll consolidate, all our media. This is after I've lost Philips, after I've lost Intel, and Reckitt is my new baby, and he was the head, still a close friend of mine. Please invite me to the pitch. He said, I can't. I'm only allowed media independent. You don't have a media independent. I said, okay, you delayed by a week, I'll have a media independent. So I flew to Paris. So I said, I'm starting MPG. I met Alfonso, the head of MPG. I said, I'm starting. He said, shareholding. I said, yaar, abhi mat nakti karo yaar. If I don't get invited, then I can't play. So I got letterhead printed, flew back to Bombay, called Ramani, and said, and Jeff crashed to Alba 2-1. I said, guys, we're starting MPG next week. Okay, here's the letterhead. You are the CEO. You are the chief buying officer. What do you guys want to call each other? Okay, I'm flying to Chandar and said, here's my letterhead, here's my people, I'm going to be the independent, you invite me.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Sell Side Conversations. Our guest today is Ishan Raina. Ishan is a very well-known name in the Indian media and advertising industry. Ishan was the founder CEO of Havas Media, Euro RSCG, MPG, and also the founder of Mediaturf, India's first digital agency. In a conversation with Ishan today, we'll talk about how he built his businesses, the challenges, the opportunities, the learnings, and much more. Hi, Ishan. Welcome to Sell Side Conversations. It's a pleasure having you here.
It's nice to be here.
Thank you. So, Ishan, let's start off from the beginning. Can you just tell us about your background, your initial days, schooling?
So I grew up in a small town called Burnpur, which is now part of SAIL, the steel factory. It was called Martin Burn in those days. And my dad used to manage the factory. Ironically, I just came back from there yesterday. I was there this weekend going after 50 years.
Oh, wonderful.
Excellent life. Factory life, school, club. I went back. I said, perhaps the nicest thing happened when I was growing up here. Then moved to Delhi and did the rest of my schooling in DPS, the normal Delhi thing. Then you go to Shriram College of Commerce. Then back to Calcutta at the IIM.
Oh, really? Okay.
Joka.
Nice.
And spent a couple of years working after that in Calcutta. And I've been in Bombay for the last 40 years.
And then how did you get into advertising? Because that's where your journey started into the...
So actually, every decision in my life has been by accident. Okay, nothing is planned. Okay, as with most people in my generation, my brother's an engineer, my brother's a doctor, I'm an engineer. I didn't know what to do with myself. Started accountancy, didn't like it. I'd done BCom in Shriram. I wrote for a while and worked in the strategy group at AVP in Calcutta. And then I was doing a play in Calcutta, and Stanley Pinto, one of the directors in Lintas, came to see the play, and he said, why don't you meet Alec Padamsi? And Alec Padamsi was a big name in theatre and things like that. And so net, I joined Lintas, and I teased Alec till he died. I said, he hired me for all the wrong reasons. Okay, he didn't hire me for and I think there are enough MBAs there who kept saying strategy and leverage and all that. Whereas with me, he could talk theatre also, I had an MBA. So he used to use me besides my customers. I had customers like Bajaj and Raymond and State Bank and Unilever. But I was always Alex's little flunky. He had to his presentations and I would make his slides to 3 in the morning at some Peshu Wadia. So I think we got close because of the amount of time I spent with him traveling, or when he would go for conferences. But it was very interesting, and I never looked back after that. Then everybody used to tease me because Alec kind of double promoted me twice.
Okay.
And say like this is, you're just a psycho fan. I said that's true, but my collections are the best in my group, and I've got the maximum awards of any of you guys. Okay, so let's be clear. I mean, yes, we do like each other, but you have to also like deliver. Yeah?
Absolutely.
So campaigns, lots of them. The one that is still relevant is Humara Bajaj.
Oh, really?
After all these years, it's still so relevant. And it also started a trend because after that, it became, Meri Jaan, India Jaan, like 20 campaigns
And
started.
little background to everyone about that Hamara Bajaj's iconic campaign. How did it all come about?
So we wanted something to hold it together. Competition was coming. Liberalization was happening. And we wanted to talk about the enormity of the Bajaj values and the India values in Bajaj. Reciprocity. I mean, the India values in Bajaj, the Bajaj values in India. And had a very bright bunch of kids. Rahul Dakuna and Kersi Katra, he was not a kid, he was a creative director there, who were all very supportive. Alec was very supportive. So initially we had all these classic, sexy looking, English, campaigns. And but I'm very proud about it's probably the first one which the Hindi was much more popular than the English. And it started a trend to the Indianization of.
Yeah, I always wondered when I look at some of the advertising campaigns back then, most of them in English speaking, very
Because people in advertising thought they had a British soul with an Indian body. Yeah. And it took geniuses like, Piyush and everybody else. Uh, I was very much part of that movement because I was equally comfortable in Hindi and English. And I could relate to the creative people who were sort of quote unquote Indian,
Correct.
And that helped, and
So coming back to the Hamara Bajaj, sorry, you were saying about it needed an Indian soul, and then how did it all come about?
lots of trial and error. At one point, I thought we were going to get fired
Oh, really?
because some 15, 20 of us used to land up every month, and Rahul Bajaj had no patience. Okay, and we would bore him with 4 hours of meetings and things like that. But by then, I think that more to his credit than mine, he was a man who liked argument, liked repartee, and I was very irrelevant. Everybody was very kind of respectful.
Ah.
And
Hanji type.
they were very respectful because he was a very big name. If you remember, he was also chairman of Air India. He was a big shot.
Absolutely.
So, but we would spar in Hindi and we would, then he had actually given me an office there. So, because they didn't have a marketing team. So, I used to spend 2 days a week there. It sounds very fancy now. It was murder for me because I would live in Dadar. I would drive in the morning to take a 7 o'clock flight, park my car there, come back by a 2 o'clock flight, then drive to Lintes to finish the rest of my day.
Oh my God.
Okay. And then drive back to Dalat. Drive from the airport to Lintas and pick up my wife who was in Water Road and murder. I would start my day at 4 in the morning and end it at midnight. Murder. But I got very rich dividends, and a lot of love and a lot of respect. And when you're 25, 26, it's a great age. You just, you have a bundle of energy, things like that. So, yeah, that's a campaign I'll always be very, very proud to have been associated with.
God.
It was also my first, how do I put it? But that was my first recognizable large client. Because in Unilever, you were never, or in other, they were all great training. But I think places like Bajaj, places like State Bank of India,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I
But
worked.
was State Bank of India a big advertiser back then?
But
It was not even a big.
decent advertiser, but the people, they were phenomenal. There's a chairman called D.N. Ghosh, who later on became my client in L&T. He was chairman of L&T. He became my client at Philips. He was chairman of Philips.
Oh,
So these are also old associations, and these were giants. So when you get to know them in your 20s, it really helps you in your 30s and 40s because they get even bigger and bigger and more powerful.
the relationship continued.
And the relationship continued. In fact, with both these gentlemen, Rahul Bajaj and DNG, it continued till the very end.
And then, how did it? What was the next phase of your career? You were with Lintas for some time. Then
So
you went to contract.
the next stage is contract, and I was not even 31.
Huh.
Okay, and I think contract had some kind of collapse. So one person's collapse is another person's opportunity. Okay,
Yeah.
and I think that I keep teasing all my friends who went after that, Colvin Harris and all that. They were all offered the job in HTA. Nobody wanted it.
You were in the right place at the right time.
Nobody wanted that job. It was there for like, and I used to tease Ghoshal, who then became very close to, the third person very close to, who was the chairman of both HTA and contract. And when we became drinking buddies, I tell him, SG, you got me because everybody I found out later who you asked in HTA said, no, yeah, nobody wanted that job. Okay, there was the media was always saying this is going to shut down, it's going to shut down. And HTA boys said, like, but there's a lesson there. The lesson is when you're young, and that lesson helped me to start Havas as well.
Okay.
When you're young, you don't know failure and you have no fear.
True.
Okay. As you get older, fears develop because you've achieved a lot. So fears develop, and you have, there's an old song, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. Okay.
Correct.
So when you're young, actually, you don't know what can go wrong. And therefore you jump in. So at 30, I was executive director before my 31st birthday. I think I was turning 31 in July of 1989. That's correct, 1958 July, yeah. And by April 1, I was ED. I was looking after Bombay. 3 offices. The rest I got later. Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. I found out later that the other 80, he said, I'll keep Delhi and Bangalore because those 2 offices were making money and the other 3 were bleeding. Yeah. It's fair. Yeah. He said, look, I've been here forever. You're getting this kid. So you go, okay, yeah. Give him the very tough ones which are like that. Okay. But to be fair to that professional, I won't name him. To be fair to him, 3 years later, when succession talks started, 4 years later, he was the one who said, I'm going to go overseas and this job belongs to Ishan.
Oh, wonderful. That's gracious of him.
Yes. To be fair, because he told me this. And he told Mr. Gushal this because they obviously wanted to tell him, listen, by that, Bombay was rocking, Agency of the Year, all the awards were coming, the Thanda was there, everything was there. Okay. But he had the professionalism and the love for his company because these guys were they were much before me. I was the outsider. But they had enough love for his company to say, you guys should transfer me to J-Walter overseas, okay?
Okay.
And this job should go to Ishan.
What?
Which I think is also lessons in graciousness.
Absolutely.
I mean,
So we didn't contract any memorable campaigns or
contractors are
clients.
riot.
So which ones are the ones which stand out even 30 years down the line?
All our Philips work, all our Park Avenue. Park Avenue was Lintas. There was a very successful Lintas campaign. Just trying to think now. L&T, Atul Hegde in this podcast about L&T. Okay, L&T came to me as a gift from DN Ghosh.
Oh,
MLT Kulkarni, the chairman, as a gift.
You're lucky to have such a gift.
I didn't picture it. No, because I'd helped them in the takeover battle PR.
Achha, okay.
Everything has a, there's a, you have to do it without expecting it. I would have helped them for free because I love DN Ghosh. Okay. And then their new chairman, SD Kulkarni, was then the CFO under him. So I would have just done it because I liked the man. Okay. He had helped me when I was a young kid in Lintas. Okay. Without a pitch.
Wow.
Without a pitch. No, 1 second. L&T is Euro. Okay. See, I'm getting senile. We're talking about contract.
The contract.
No. L&T is Euro, not contract. Contract, a lot of good work was done by Delhi.
Okay.
NIIT, Kelvinator, Atlas Cycle. Some of these brands don't exist anymore.
Correct.
But contract, a lot of good work was done across the country, not just Bombay.
How was advertising those days in the days of 90s or even early 90s?
Much more fun than it is today.
For our audiences,
that's for sure. I mean, I had a lot of fun. Okay.
Was it like the Mad Men's speak with the
man.
exit?
You work very
Or
hard.
is it just
we work very, very hard. So, okay, so at least in contract, okay, Lintas I was sheltered. In contract I was Nanga. Okay, I mean, we were paying salaries 8 months late. Okay, I used to pay the PNs first. Luckily, I had a working wife. I should, but we were taking salaries very late. There was
Wow.
no money. There was no money. It's when we turned the corner, I started buying flats and this and that. And there was no money to hire people. There was no money to compensate people. People have forgotten that particular phase of contract. And it's after that, it's always done well. And by the way, sometimes the podcast, I'd like to, that's something I'm very proud of.
How do you hold people?
No place I've ditched has like, I've not said it's about me and the delusion. They're all done better after I left, which is, I think, very good.
How did you hold people together when there's no money to pay salaries?
Ah,
It's always tough.
you have to take the maximum pay. So I should take my salary last. See, if you take your salary first, why the contract team stayed with me? Two things. One, you have to give either fame or fortune. I had no fortune to give. You have to give fame.
Fame.
Okay. If you go back in the early 90s, for 5 years running, Agency of the Year, earlier used to be Sachi, Trikaya, that changed. Agency of the Year started becoming Contract Ogilvy, Contract Ogilvy. If you look back, it became a phase of like, and we would, that day at be a competitive test. I mean, the Ogilvies would be boys in black. We would have the noisiest bunch of youngsters, and everybody knew we should be very good friends. And we'd probably go drinking after that. But that day was like,
It was like
serious.
cutthroat competition.
Yeah. So that's the fame part, the pride. And fortune comes from saying, guys, we're all in it together. Okay. We'll pay the PM first. Okay. I go last. And then we go up the ladder, depending on when the money is coming in.
Money's coming.
And you have to be transparent. I think people forgive you. Okay. And then when it turns around, you have to be generous first to them and then to yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the hallmark of a good leader.
Yeah. So I think that you asked me, the contract team stayed very, very, very united. It's probably from an advertising perspective. Sure, advertising. Okay, not business, not this, not that. It taught me business because when you can't pay the bills, you have to learn business. In Lintaz, I didn't need to learn business. It was a finely tuned machinery. As long as I delivered on my collection, delivered my awards, kept my clients happy, I was okay. But here, for the first time, I'm accountable for paying salaries. In Lintaz, I wasn't senior. I mean, I think promoted, double promoted, I became general manager and all, but you're not paying salaries, yeah.
Absolutely. So
Here you're paying salaries, yeah. You go to the CFO and he looks at you and says, there's no money. I can't pay salaries. So you have to bring in the money so that you can pay salaries. So I think contract taught me a lot. It shaped my advertising. It shaped my worldview on what can go and go right with companies. And it shaped my understanding of finance because I wasn't naturally tuned to finance. People assumed I was because I had a, Shriram BCom honor, which was quite fancy in those days. And IAM, which was fancy. So people assumed it. But the finance person in my household then and now is always in my family. My wife was a banker, yeah. As long as I had enough money in my pocket for my good sort of habits and bad, I was fine. So I never really bothered, yeah. Okay. But when you're a
So, let's also talk about in contract, because if you're the head of the agency, how do you?
I was a CO.
CEO. Yeah. But obviously,
No, I was.
the buck
To
stops.
be all fairness, yes.
The buck stops. How do you get this? How do you get business on agency? Because say we're pitching products.
All my friends started saying, stop calling us.
How do you take it less? How do you win accounts?
I was shameless. Gushal used to tease me. He used to take me out. He was the chairman. He used to sit in contract, not in SP. I remember he used to take me out for lunch once a month. And he would come and say, enough cold calls. HT doesn't cold call. I said, HT doesn't pay the salaries here, SD. They don't pay the salaries here. I would pick up the phone brutally and
So what would be a pitch? And whom would you call?
any CMO. I must have made 1,000 calls in contract.
Anything?
Much more than I ever done in Euro.
Anything you can share with us?
I even called people who take me for lunch and say, "Mat pitch karo, मैं तेरे को धंधा नहीं देने वाला हूँ यार." Brahm Vasudev, I remember. He actually called me for lunch. He said, I got very excited. So he said, I really like you. I respect the work you're doing. I've called you for lunch to tell you. I'm happy to buy you lunch. I am not going to move. Move on and find other people. So,
Which brand was this?
okay, she was the owner of Hawken.
Okay.
So, I knew socially. I said, you. Okay, so I finally called you once. I have to get this guy out of my system. I've cut you the business and you will call me once a month religiously. Yeah. So innately, I was the most notorious cold caller in my contract days because need makes you like lose all ego. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, zero. And what ego? I was 32. Yeah, what ego? I mean, you develop an ego later in life. Yeah, so I have no ego and all. I just call anybody. Yeah, I mean,
And any successes out of this cold calling?
lots.
Which one?
The whole business. You look at contrast list at that time. We had nothing. Bombay had zero clients. We had some Murphy that owed us money for 2 years. There were no clients in Bombay. It was wiped out. We had to rebuild from scratch.
And what would be your pitch to these CMOs or brand owners? Why
I will
should
get
they
talent.
give you a
I will
chance?
get talent. By then, they, to be fair, both Limtaz and me, Alec, not, I would say Alec, okay, never badmouthed each other. People would call him privately. All these clients knew him, okay, and they would call him.
Ref check.
Yeah, ref check. So the ref check was Alec because by then he had a great reputation. And he would always say, this is the one man after many, many years in Lintaz, which I was very, very, very sorry to leave. And people would say, why did you leave Lintaz? Okay. And I would say, who gets an opportunity of being an ED in a multinational at 30? Give me a break. And they would say, is it because of Alec? I said, don't be silly. Alec is the only reason I would have stayed. I learn from him every day. So I think that another lesson to a youngster, do not badmouth your previous employer. It'll come back to bite you. I know people have this tendency of like badmouthing. You badmouth your ex-employer, your ex-employer badmouth you, your career is history.
It goes in a cycle.
Yeah, your career is history. So I did it because I really liked him. But assuming I really disliked Attic, I would say the same thing in my old age. Like, do not badmouth your previous employer because or your previous client. Because the guy you're going into will say, Kal usko kya aaj mere ko kar lega yaar. Okay, so keep your value systems very clear.
That's very important. How about then your next journey? You become an entrepreneur. You branch out on your own. Can you walk us through the process? How did the opportunity come? How did you sort of leave the comfort of a salary and jumped into something unknown?
Leave it. Circumstances. I was in a very cushy place at contract. Succession had been kind of, announced. I was 35, 36, 1995, 36. Then suddenly global alignment started happening. And we had everybody's business, all right, except J. Walter's business. J. Walter's business was with HTA. Okay. We had zero aligned business. Okay. My favorite business, Philip, announced that they were moving worldwide to Euro RSCG agency. And they were coming to India to set up. Okay. And they had tied up with Ulka. At that time, Billy Kapoor. They were trying to buy Ulka. Then they were trying to tie up with Ogilvy. And I was their worst nightmare because I was blocking it at every stage. Okay. With the Philips management. Ask them for more. Ask them what they're going to do. They have nobody here. तो एक साल मैंने उनको खिंचाया. Okay. And then they went to Arthur Anderson at that time. And Ashok Wadhwa, still close to mine. Ambit. They went and bitched about me to a lot of people. The same guy, Pierre, because they had to become my closest friends with Havas. They were supposed to set up India and they just couldn't. Ulka was saying, we won't give you 50, we won't give you even 26%. You do a strategic tie-up with us. They said, no, we want equity. Yeah. We committed to Philips and we'll have equity. So Goom Firke, they went to their consultant, was a friend of mine. And they spent an hour badmouthing me. And he said, have you ever met the guy? They said, no. So this guy said, he's a fun guy. Yeah? He's a friend of mine. Why don't you guys meet? They said, we don't want to meet. He's our worst enemy here in India. Yeah? It's because of him that they can't stand up. He's constantly creating confusion with clients and, So net we met. And I said, I won't, okay, become a CEO. Now, then they said, what about a joint venture partner? We've done that in Latin America. I said, oh, okay, now let's talk.
It sounds interesting.
Now, it's so interesting. So they said, look, we only want the majority, but we'll live with the minority. If we'd like to get a majority, we'd live with the minority because India hasn't given anybody a majority as yet. There's about 40%, nobody got 51. And I said, I don't have the money. Okay. They said, there's nothing. It's 6 crores, I think $1.5 million, 40 rupees ka dollar tha. So they said, it's only 2.5 crores. I said, only? I don't think I have 20 lakhs in my bank account. They said, but we are told you're one of the highest paying guys in advertising. I said, but what are the salaries here, guys? I said, if I have any savings, because my wife also works. Okay. There's no savings. I mean, you're talking about 1995, yeah. And these guys would say it's only $500,000 and it's only 600,000. Cut a long story short, they really helped me.
Okay.
Okay.
How so?
They give me a ridiculous salary in those days.
But how do you manage to cough up the two?
I took the salary in advance, yeah.
Acha,
They gave me a French salary. In 1995, over a 1 crore salary they gave me. That's a joke today. Yeah.
Wow.
That's like getting 30 crores in advertising today. Okay, we didn't have those kind of salaries.
True.
Okay, it was, and I kept it secret, but it came out in that FIPB that, Economic Times, I have to go for application for salary. I had to run away from all my friends because of that.
All the disclosures.
The disclosures, man, it got leaked in Economic Times. But actually, it was very cheap for them. Okay, because firstly, and this I have to thank Arthur Anderson and Ashok Wadhwa, because they're the guys who did it for me. I didn't know what FIPB was, foreign investment promotion. They went to them and said, hey, bacha yaar, give us paise waise nahi hai. They went to the government and said, ye network aa raha hai. We applied for 60-40, hopefully we get 51-49. And they had a meeting with me, saw me totally non-threatening and all. But 36 years old, they gave 60-40. So
60 to you?
60 to them.
60 to them.
That had never happened in India before.
Acha.
Now, what happened? It was a win-win. For Anderson, it was a win-win. Because Sorel was their client with WPP, every other client. Once they got this as a precedent, they got it for everybody.
They could
So again, an industry change.
got it.
Okay. So that's it. I've been involved in so many industry changes that is such fun. In retrospect, when I look back. So the first majority shareholding in India was given to Havas.
Acha.
Okay.
60%.
60% to Havas, 40% to me. That is 60-40. I didn't talk about my shareholding. I didn't talk about my comp. It leaked later. Okay. At that point, I just want to be undercover, yeah. Because I said I'm going to go to my clients, and I think it's middle management client who my batchmate gets jealous or that. I said, but the bugger won't come because of that, yeah.
Correct. It's a sort of backlash.
It's a backlash. So, but all that was done for me by Anderson.
Wonderful.
All. Okay. I mean,
You were some lucky stars to tank.
see, they were their consultants, not mine, but they were my friends. Okay. So, again, India is 1 billion people with 2 degrees of separation. Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
The truth is that everybody knows it. Okay. So, people are willing to help. Okay. I mean, I didn't know anything. I landed up and there's a secretary, FIPB in Delhi. And this is a totally new world for me.
So then this.
I knew clients. Okay. I knew clients. I knew talent.
So in 1995, Havas got established in India.
We got the license I joined them in November of 1995. By February, we got the license. By April, I started the company.
And who was your first client in India?
Philip.
Philips. That's how you got the Philips.
I had to go and see Court Boonstra, the global head, to get his blessings. Because I had no talent, I had nothing. There was me. There was me and a secretary sitting in one room. Okay. But again, see, when you're young and you're energetic, I had 40 people and set up Bombay and Calcutta. That's where Philips was. And Bangalore, because we were pitching for Intel. That's the second guy who was going to come. Intel came easily.
Okay.
Philips gave me grief because they thought, oh, my father-in-law, yeah. You got a company because of us and that, worldwide head. And Intel's simpler business also, single product. Philips was complicated. They had a CCTV in bloody Calcutta and, audio in Bombay.
All of those things.
Yeah, complicated. The Philips management here was wonderful. Wonderful. Clients like Ravi Pishrodi, who later went to Tata Motors, also known senior with the IIM. That was Manohar David, who was then their director. There was a Dutch guy who was their marketing head, who was very, very fond of me. Like somebody, I don't know. So actually, the Indian client was solidly with me. And we had done phenomenal work for them from contract. Contract, I told Bushal, I said, listen, please don't be upset. This business is going. The deadline is this. Okay. Let me go and start with this business and build something. Okay. And that's when he told me, don't take any
Clients from contract.
everywhere, same story. Don't take clients, don't take people. So I have to rebuild. Okay. So in Euro, I took Lintas people.
Acha.
Okay. I took some Lintas people. Okay. Because by then they had left over leaving. Suman never worked for a contract. Okay. So the contract people were Ravi Deshpande, Umesh Khande. I left the contract team here and then I got old Lintas guys. Rajan Patel. Atul has mentioned some of them in his podcast. So that gang, Rajan Patel, Suman Srivastava. Who else? I got it Prabhakar Mundkor. He was in Shanghai with J. Walter Thompson. So, but yeah, and we
So, what is the tipping point for either Euro or Havas? What was the tipping point? What do you consider as the inflection point where it sort of went into a different league altogether?
I wouldn't say that Havas went like this. Okay, went one way up. I wouldn't say that. People thought I had so much money. पैसा नहीं था यार. We had a debt from a bank and we had some small share capital. But the clients started rolling in, the work started getting L&T I was telling you about, the Philips work, this work. Philips work was good in both contract and Euro. Personally, I think a contract role is better. Okay, if you ask me. But then the clients started coming, third. I got HDFC Bank. They were starting out. So suddenly every month, that's where the contract cold calling, which I did out of desperation. Here I wasn't desperate. In fact, here it was ulta. The Havas boys, the URC boys would keep telling me, don't pitch, Ishan. Philips is getting upset. Don't pitch. We should know this for our international clients. You should spend 100% of your time on Philips and Intel. And I was saying, guys, what did they do to me at contract? They'll do it again. And then what happens? This company will die. I said, you want 100% multinational. They wanted 100% because by then they had 60s. I should tell them. I said, listen, there's only three numbers. Yeah. Okay. 26, 51, 76. Okay.
What does it mean?
At 26, I'm not your employee.
Acha, okay.
Okay. At 76, I'm your employee. Okay. So I said, be clear. Okay. We have to deal with each other. Okay. And I'm going to make this an Indian company. Because they said, now other clients are coming, Louis Vuitton is talking to us. And every time they see your client list, they'll see Voltas and HDFC. They'll say, what is this? Is this Euro RSCG or is this some Indian company?
Correct.
And I was saying, look, very clear. In the first 3 years, my goal is to break even without Philips and Intel.
Okay.
That's the story I told Havas. The story I told Philips and Intel is, guys, I can't hire the best talent if I have 2 clients. So you will lose long term. I said just now your parent company are very happy that my guys are looking after you and things like that. But you will pay a price for it long term. Because I need to be able to offer the best talent to look after you. And I can't, you're my only client in Bangalore or you're my client in Bombay. Yeah.
So that's how the shift started. You started getting
in 3 years time. It's so funny. It's sad and funny at the same time. In 3 years' time, I broke even without Philips and Intel. In year 5, we lost Philips. In year 7, we lost Intel.
Oh, and then you're a fresh set of clients. All of those.
In year 8, we got Reckitt.
Achha.
So, principles, again, the lesson there is that if you have to create a sustaining company, okay, you can't be dependent on either one talent or one client.
Very true.
If any talent of yours can hold you to ransom, or any client of yours can hold you to ransom, you lose freedom.
Absolutely.
Unless you're lucky. Okay. Piyush and Ogilvy. Beautiful partnership. 35 years.
It's been there forever, right?
It's a dream
It's a
partnership.
dream partnership.
All right. But they saw themselves as one. Okay. So You have to be lucky. Okay.
So, Ishan, you also were responsible or involved with Mediaturf, one of the first digital agencies, and MPGs. Can you sort of walk us through that journey? Because
So actually,
digital was the sort of a new kid on the block in the late
so
90s,
actually,
2000.
I'll take you to MPG first
Okay.
because that's the genesis of Mediaturf.
Okay.
Okay. In our time, it was very simple. I had one company. The holding networks had like separate media companies and separate advertising companies and separate this. In our case, it was similar. And I started giving my key employees some shareholding again from the holding. So it was a clean Euro RSCG and everything. EuroRSCG Media, EuroRSCG this, EuroRSCG that. Okay. Although the group was still Havas. Okay. And the shareholding I would give is in the sort of Havas, the
Havas.
holding entity.
Okay.
Because then it keeps people together, yeah. They don't start fighting with each other.
Correct.
What happens in organizations, I saw all these guys fighting each other. The kid was fighting with the media fighting somebody else. So at least the bosses had to have the same incentives. Okay. So the advertising company did well, then the media guys would be happy. The media guys, otherwise they were all unhappy with each other. Yeah. Mera client hai, mera client hai, mera client hai.
Sort of squabbling with each other. Correct.
Alright.
Human nature to sort of
Yeah.
squabble.
So then what happened is there about 5-7 years into Euro, Reckitt Benckiser, very big client of ours, said we'll consolidate, okay, all our media. Okay. This is after I've lost Philips, after I've lost Intel, and Reckitt is my new baby in town. Like Delhi office is, bouncing because of very Reckitt. That's what happens with global companies, yeah. Okay. So I flew down to see Chandar Shetty, who was the head, still a close friend of mine. Okay. Chandar, you can't do this to me. Okay. At least invite me to the pitch. He said, I can't. I'm only allowed media independent. You don't have a media independent. So by then, these guys had mind share, somebody had something. I said, okay, you delayed by a week. I'll have a media independent.
Okay.
So I flew to Paris. We had an MPG brand in Latin America and in Spain. Okay. So I said, I'm starting MPG.
Oh.
They said, why? They said, well, we lose Reckitt otherwise. Yeah. So then I flew to Spain. I met Alfonso, the head of MPG. Okay, Fernando Rhodes, the family that owned it. I said, I'm starting. He said, shareholding. I said, yeah, abhi mat nakti karo yaar. Wohi shareholding holding company because they all run their own piece of empire. So I said, just now, I have 4 days. Okay, there's a pitch in a week.
Really? Okay.
Okay, so if I don't get invited, then I can't play. So they said, so what? I said, nothing. Send an email. Letterhead is being printed as we speak. Okay, so I got letterhead printed, flew back to Bombay, called Ramani, and said, and Jeff crashed to her too much. I said, guys, we're starting MPG next week. Okay, here's the letterhead. You are the CEO. You are the chief buying officer. What do you guys want to call each other? Okay, I'm flying to Chandar and said, here's my letterhead. Here's my people. I'm going to be the independent to invite me.
Oh, wow.
Really? And this is how life happens.
This is how it happened, huh?
That's how it happened.
In a matter of few days, you sort of
This is how it happened.
put a ragtag team and
1 week.
this is what it is.
The team was mine already in Euro. But so they had to build it. Then I go to Chandar and I say, "Gil, independent. Now you invite me." He wanted it also. Like he loved our people, but he said, like your structure only you don't have.
Correct.
Okay, how do you want to be invited? Net. I think that my guys, because there was Mindshare, there was Madison. These are the big weights in those times. There was a third company. What was Ulka's company in those days? Very big media company. I forget. Huh?
FCB.
FCB का एक media नाम था उसका. I think Shashi Sinha used to handle it.
IPG.
That's an independent company.
Initiatives, I don't know. Okay.
वो initiative Lintas का था. अच्छा initiative भी था उसमें.
हाँ.
Correct. And there was one MPG. Now people asking who is MPG? What is MPG? How are they suddenly in this pitch? And Ramani won the pitch
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
against all these biggies. He was just brilliant. That Ian guy who came from London, the media guy, said, I've not seen a pitch like this. He took me for dinner. I said, Ishan, we love you, but it's all smokes and mirrors, yeah. I said, the pitch is real. What is smokes and mirrors about? The company smokes and mirrors about you guys, yeah. You are insisting that I need a company. So I've created it.
Yeah.
All right, but I said, the pitch is real. The team is real. Ramani is real. You've known Ramani, yeah. He said, that's true. So that's how we got the business. And with that, actually, what was going to be a disaster for me became brilliant because the Givolta had Dettol and all that. Who came to us? So, so instead of having 50%, I was going to lose 50% and we gained 100%. So it's how, adversity, opportunity. Adversity, opportunity.
So it is like adversity turned into a great opportunity for you.
That's how MPG started.
Ah, okay.
Then after MPG started, Ramni comes to me and says, like, listen, this digital is growing now and I'm losing parts of my business because I'm hiring separate digital agencies. So I should start a digital agency. That's how Mediaturf started.
Oh,
At that point of time, Havas told me, son, what are you doing? We don't have digital agencies, we buy them.
so you try to create a homegrown one from
I don't
bottom up.
Okay, so my view in those days was acquisitions only made the founder rich, okay, and destroyed the company. And I saw that in Havas. We destroyed so much wealth in those days, okay, early 2000s. And they kept saying, we have the money to acquisitions. I said, I can't see acquisitions around me that will give value. I can see creation. That's what I mean. That ultimately, Havas had a fantastic deal. Yeah. I mean, this company is built on 6 crores. Yeah. So he said, homegrown curry. Okay. Then Ramni comes to me and says, like, big pitch happening, 60 crores, Maruti. I said, very fantastic. You got Reckitt, you have to hire for Reckitt. Okay, let's get this also, yeah. You can go, then it will become a huge operation. So I got started cold call Maruti. I started knowing them. They're not my business, but I knew people there. And I said, guys, give us a chance. I know the chairman and the CMO happened to be from IIM Calcutta. And he said, Bade salo se aapka padh raha ho. I am Calcutta ka. I like reading about you. A very sweet fellow. So I said, as you have sir ki baat karo ko pitch pe invite karo yaar. I mean, like, I tell you, do a bra faster what me. I love, but don't even come near me. You're not going to get my business. I said, guy, what is the same thing to me,
No, sir, one, I would just want to stop you for a moment over here. ये Maruti ka, when you made a, did you actually make a cold call to Maruti?
100%.
I want to pitch for it.
So here's, I knew that chairman socially.
Okay.
Okay. I got the details. किससे बात कर रहा हूँ? Cold, all cold.
So you just pick up the phone saying, I am Ishan Raina.
Well, I was a brand name.
Your brand.
See, the difference, it's not that I didn't cold call from Euro. Okay. But by then, unlike in contract, okay, by this time, I was 39, 40 years old, अखबार में, इस पे, उस पे, seminars पे. So by then, people didn't wonder who was calling. So there's a big difference.
True.
That's why I say for me, contract was a bigger, much tougher. Euro sounds insane. कि ऐसे ही startup क्या, FIBB क्या, I understand FIBB क्या मेरे लिए.
Got it.
The talent was getting so excited, people were phoning me. People, मेरे को शंघाई से phone करता है, मैं वापस आने मांगता हूँ यार, do you have a place? I said, Raja Bombay director.
The point is, a lot of people actually hesitate to make that cold call. And you were here a couple of...
Because if you had to feed people, you can't have an ego, personal ego, and the need to feed bloody 400 people, yeah. Let me tell you, my break-even plan for Euro was year 4. I made 3 crores profit in year 1. L&T. They gave me 20 crores for an IPO. That, the campaign that Hegde was talking about, that people are trained and all, that was done for their IPO. Correct. And that was gifted to me.
Okay,
no pitch, no this, no that. It was a gift. They said, yeah, we're engineers. We don't know anybody in advertising. We know you aake kar le.
Wow.
So that's literally what happened. Yeah. Okay, that's a gift. For me, it's a gift. Because 20 people have to pitch for that account.
So now you also want a Maruti account with Ramni's help. And then that's how...
No, Ramani had to help me to get the account. I could trust Ramani to banish it.
Manage it, okay.
Got it.
You got it.
Yeah. I went and I told that guy, like, I thank you for saying you like me. Thank you. All this, मेरे को pitch पे बुला दे यार. Okay. So called the guys. Without shame. Okay. Without shame. I mean, I was so good.
I like that. Okay.
No shame. Puri, same thing, HDFC Bank. Okay, I knew Puri socially, and I went and said, yeah, tu suna tu advertising agency change kar rahe. I said, mere ko dete. Okay. I said, firstly, sir, I'm the opposite who. He was in that, that bank house. I was in Bleeding Ladies Plaza. They were moving there. I said, kitna rakha hoga yaar? I'll just cross the road and we'll have a drink in the evening. Cold calling you have to do. I mean, if the CEO gets an ego about...
Sometimes the ego, sometimes people don't even know how to cold call. So that also is a skill.
You say, hello, I love you. Do you love me? I want your business, yaar. I mean, what is
You make it
cold
sound so,
calling?
you make it sound so easy, but that is there's a little bit of an art over there.
You have to know that person's pain point. Okay. It cannot be about you. I mean, the only way to get someone to work with you is to tell him that you understand his pain and you have an answer for his pain.
Absolutely.
That's all.
That's it.
And the truth is that issues say, I'll tell you what happens. Okay. Which happened to me later when I started doing acquisitions for Havas worldwide. Okay. Advertising companies have the most boring credential presentations in the world. They're terrible.
For instance,
They're terrible. The first 3 slides will be about how global we are. Who gives a shit? The next 5 slides will be about how glorious we are locally, how glorious our CEO is, all the awards that we've got. Okay. By which time you spend 45 minutes talking about stuff that the guy is least interested in. All he's interested in is, yeah, how are you going to solve my problem?
come to the point straight.
And so I used to go with the deck and say, boss, I don't want to bore you for maybe 1 hour with what we do here. Okay, it's all on the net. Let's chat about how we can help you here. I think there's a 4th thing we should be doing the next year. I think this is how we can contribute to it. I should do half an hour pitches.
Oh,
people would give every agency 4-hour slots. And I would say, yeah, I don't want to bore you here. You heard all these credentials and all that. It's a waste of time. मतलब की बात करते हैं यार. Let's discuss what your pain points are. Let's discuss what we can do for you.
so that's a very good advice to a lot of people when you're pitching.
We are for an industry that tells people we solve their problems. We only like to talk about ourselves. It is amazing the amount of narcissism in our industry. I used to keep telling my people, listen, we are 0.0005 of India's GDP. All right. And we consume 10% of media space, and you have started believing your own bullshit. See how irrelevant we are as an industry.
Correct.
Tomorrow the entire advertising media industry doesn't exist. Na? India का कुछ नहीं होने वाला है. But today I think it's a steel industry जाएगा, problem हो जाएगा. Aluminum जाएगा, problem हो जाएगा. कुछ नहीं है. But I love this industry. But you have to be clear that we have no real impact on GDP. I'm not saying society.
Today I think it's about 1% of GDP. I roughly, I think that's the number.
What is 1%?
Yeah, but still it's...
And that 1% probably includes Google and all
of everything put
तो Google निकालो ना, अपना advertising industry ले लो. उसमें से अगर Google, Facebook, they are not part of our industry. We like to include them for data.
But if you remove them,
But if you take Google and Facebook and all out of the industry,
it's very minuscule.
We're very minuscule. We are, and we will remain. So our only value, and there's great value, that's why I love this industry, is in transforming the way people look at our clients. Okay. And if we can do that, we'll be respected. Okay. If we say how big we are, how important we are, we will always be relevant.
Makes sense.
See, look at it this way. Somebody asked me once, why did you leave Mediaturf? I said, when I was an account director, okay, which sounds very fancy. My poor father is an engineer. When I wanted to show everybody my card because they're director. But they actually basically right at the bottom of the food area. Okay. The poor fellow didn't know what I did, yeah. So he had to show off, because, my sister was a dean by then, my brother was a doctor and all, and this didn't know what the son did, yeah. So my card said director, and I used to go to London and all. So he was very excited. He used to tell everybody, abhi beta London se hai, फिर abhi America ja raha hai. And he would show the visiting card, director ban gaya. Okay. That's how Indian parents were. But at that time, who did I deal with? Rahul Bajaj, DN Ghosh. Please understand, except for Lintas's traditional clients, okay, which were Unilever and all, where I went up the food chain, okay. With all the clients that I dealt with, that I developed, okay, I was talking to the chairman, the CEO, okay. When I became chairman, okay, if those guys weren't friends of mine, okay, no chairman was dealing with the advertising company. And ever since I've left, I don't think whoever HDFC's agency has ever met Aditya Puri. Okay, I don't think anybody met Rahul Bajaj. I'm giving you real examples. I don't think anybody presents as chairman of State Bank of India. Whereas I've traveled at DN Ghosh across America doing his presentations for NRI. So see how they see. Ultimately, the people you deal with, okay, is how you add value. When you deal with the C-suite, that is what the McKinseys do now. That's what the Bain does. That's what the Big Four do, the accounting firms. Advertising doesn't do it anymore. The only chairman who will meet you are people who are your batchmates. For example, okay, like Windy Banga, a friend of mine, I would meet him and his wife and we would have, but not because I was an advertising company or this advertising company. I don't think that the relationship was because I was an advertising guy. The relationship was old relationships. I am all of those common friends, different relationships.
So today you're saying is most of the agencies.
I please everybody. That was when I was an account director, I met chairman. When I became chairman, I used to meet brand manager. Sala, क्या हो गया मेरे life में यार? इधर मैं सीनियर होते गया, इधर मैं जूनियर जूनियर लोगों से मिलते रहता हूँ. गड़बड़ है कुछ इंडस्ट्री में यार. Like, I mean, it's a fact. I can laugh about it, but it's actually one of the reasons I transitioned also. I said,
But you also
there need to be younger people doing this now. Yeah, because I would lose my temper. Yeah. Some idiot trying to teach me about, I would look at it and say, hello. They are doing this to look good in front of your boss and get promoted. You don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
that is
But if once or twice I said it, then my team would shout at me. Yeah. Because they had to deal with him every day. Yeah. So from a time when I was young, I would say, please bring it on. Now my team started getting nervous. Yeah, Ishan aayega meeting mein, pata nahi kya bol dega. yaar. Okay. So what was my strength, which is speaking my mind, when I was young, started becoming my weakness as chairman. Yeah.
so that was something.
Because they don't want the chairman to speak the truth. They want the chairman to say what the client wants to hear. When you're young, why did Rahul Bajaj and all these guys indulge me? Yeah. They said, ये लोग सब, ऐसे बात करते हैं, ये जो है बोल लेता है यार. So they like listening to me. I remember one stage we got into a fight with the dealers and Rahul Bajaj said, what do you think? We were in Aurangabad. I said, Rahul भाई देखो ना, तुम्हारा ब्रेन और दिमाग के बीच में साला एक भी फिल्टर नहीं है. ऐसे सबका 4-4 फिल्टर होता है यार. तो इधर सोचता है, इधर बोल लेता है, तो गड़बड़ तो होगा यार. So he thought about it and said, I should sack you. But I agree with you. Okay, so what I'm saying is that sometimes the ability to be, you don't have to be rude, but you can see it like it is. And accounting attorneys had the power to do that.
Matter of fact,
Yeah. You don't have to be rude.
I would have you.
There are a lot of defenses. You can use humor as a defense.
Absolutely.
There are lots of defenses you can couch it in. All right. But you have to say it like it is. And, it's more acceptable from a young Turk than it is from a chairman. It's clear,
So, Ishan, let's talk about the out-of-home media company that you started. I was reading in the LinkedIn profile about that. Can you just sort of talk us through that?
So yeah, I'll tell you how it happened. I had decided on succession. And I had agreed with Havas that I wouldn't sell all my shareholding together. I would sell it in stages, particularly the MPG part, the Havas Media part. This is like 2007. By 2005 itself, I'd done succession because I'd been in that route for 10 years.
What is the thought of succession come to your mind? You didn't want to continue forever?
I didn't want to continue forever. A. B. I think that 10 years in a job, okay, you need new leadership. Okay. And I felt that I would hold the company back because whatever it is, I felt very good that contract had done well and better after that. And Euro RSCG Havas were clearly seen as my baby. And I wanted to institutionalize it. So they had a long, and frankly, the guys now running it are doing a great job. So to that extent, it was a good thing to do.
Okay.
All right.
Because very few people seldom sort of.
I think Havas is stronger today than it was in my time. It's steady. It's now 30 years. That time it was 10 years. It could have gone either way. Companies come and then drown and, things like that after the founder goes. So I could do these three things. And the social media company was Ramani, and MPG was run by Vishnu Mohan, who we got back from Singapore, who then became Asia head. And at the time he was running, he was developing India. I did a great job. And the agency was being run by Suman. Okay, this is it. And I wanted to move on and look at something else. But the mistake I made, I have to tell you, is I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay.
All right. I didn't have any hobbies. I don't golf. I don't do this. And again, there's a lesson there. You should be clear about what you want to do. So when I decided to do this, a friend of mine in private equity was running Asia. He came home and he said, "Oh, we've got this focus media company. We've just got 30x for it. Let's start and we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do this, we'll do that." So right where we were sitting earlier, shook hands, started OH. I flew to China with him. We started the company. In retrospect, I was the wrong guy for it.
Okay.
And it was the wrong company for me because it was media sales.
Okay.
All right. And it was a company that required 10 years of building, 15 years of building, like I'd done with Euro. But now I was 50. That time I was 35. Big difference.
Big difference, yes.
All right. So, and media sales is very different from advertising strategy, which is what I was good at.
Got it.
All right. And suddenly, I broke my own principle. My principle was step ladder, build, then build again, build organically. This was different model. This was throw money into the market.
Okay.
All right. And all this is in retrospect. And I was very uncuffed. In 1 year, I spent $20 million.
Throwing money at what?
Acquire this, acquire this, acquire this, acquire all these buildings, set up this thing, and there's no revenue as yet.
Assets, the outdoor assets.
Yeah, the assets and things like that. Okay. It's not something that came naturally to me. Okay. Then the market changed. My private equity partner died. And I was left halfway through building with so much money invested. And they said, if you want to shut it down, shut it down. I said, how can I shut it down? All my life I've given returns to people. Yeah, I don't want to end my last phase with something where, I had, 1 million in the bank and 19 million gone because the next tranche was supposed to come. I tried to sell it. I got a great deal. They said, no, if you're going to do it, then let's sell it for much more. Greed also comes in. Okay, there's all these kind of, you realize that, I was getting 3x for my internet company. We had got 15x. I was also thinking, what the hell? Yeah, why should I get 3x? There are all these kind of silly things that come into your mind. And I ran it for a good 5-6 years. Yeah. Okay. 7 years. And I didn't take outside money.
Okay.
Because I said, if I take money, then I'm getting deeper into the hole of money I have to return.
Correct.
I said, just now, let me just stay with this. So I spent a lot of time dressing up the bride. And I cashed in a lot of favors. Okay. All my old cold calling, okay, came in useful here because I was literally at every media agency, at every client saying, give me 2% of your budget, 3% of budget.
Typical media sales.
So, media sales. Okay. So I made it profitable, but my heart was not in it. Okay. And all my life, whatever I had done, my heart was totally in it. in this, it became a responsibility.
Got it.
Right. In the end, I had a successful exit. Everybody got their money back, and everything.
So there's a happy
But
ending.
it was a happy ending, but a very painful 4 years. Okay. I had not had that kind of. I had that pain at contract without paying salaries. Yeah, no, I had no money for salaries. I never delayed salaries, but I didn't enjoy it. So the first chance I could get is, wrapping it up, selling it, and getting everybody's thing. I was happy to get out. And it was also 2015, and I'd finished all my Havas sale by 2013 or 14 or something. So I just felt very liberated and free. So I said, now I want to do other things with my life. So I did a fellowship at Harvard after that.
Oh, wow.
So I sort of packed up. Financially, we were secure. So I said, I don't want to do this kind of, so everybody thought I had made a lot of money on this one. Okay, frankly. People were calling me and saying, I believe you made 400 crores. I said, no, that's too little, right? 2,000 crores. But actually, it was nothing like that. It was a very painful sort of time. Okay. I finished most of my money. I stopped expansion. I cut something. I dressed up the bride, gave it a 25-30% EBITDA, packaged it, sold it, returned money, and said, thank God I'm done with this. Okay. So it's not a happy part of my life. It's okay. I mean, the idea was like we spent 100 million, create a $1 billion company, everybody walks out with 100 million and 500. None of that happened. Okay. But I didn't disgrace myself. I didn't owe anybody money. I didn't sort of, so it ended well.
Nice.
But in retrospect, what I did after, the fellowship and my other stuff and my boards and all the stuff I was interested in, climate, skills, I joined the NSDC skill, advisory board. All this I should have done when I was 50. Yeah. I didn't have to wait till, 56, 57 to do it.
Got it.
So those 5-7 years of my life was like maybe a payback for all the fun I'd had since I was very pretty. I had fun all my life. Yeah. Contract was fine.
You're a lucky
It
guy.
was we give say, okay, I'm going to go through pain, yeah. But I went through 4 years of pain on this one. I mean,
So, Ishan, you're at Illustrious Career. I'm sure there have been setbacks and there have been failures. Can you sort of talk about some of those failures? Could be professional, personal, and how do you deal with
I'll talk about
some of-
regrets. Let's talk about regrets.
regrets? Okay.
For example, okay, what was brilliant for me personally was because what happened was that because I was profitable in the first year and the shareholders and me liked each other, we're still friends to this date. Okay. And by a series of nepotism and circumstances, I went on the global board.
Okay.
All right. I was the first Indian to go on the global board.
And circumstances.
Huh?
That's an interesting choice of words you use.
Nepotism is because they liked me. Okay. Also because they had budgeted 4 years of funding and first year I was profitable.
Okay.
That is there's only a logic to nepotism. You have to be competent. If you're incompetent in nepotism, you get fired at some stage. Okay. Circumstances because we went on NASDAQ, we went on NASDAQ, and you did one board member from Asia. It was either me or the Chinese guy.
Yeah. Correct.
What will you get? I loved the Chinese guy. Okay. And his balance sheet was 5 times mine, but they're not made money. Okay. Added money in the year. Plus, I think that, I'm very open. So both the French and the Americans found it easier to deal with me. And they said that, if he has to talk at the board meeting and if he has to talk, that is my allowed. That's the circumstantial part.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. It's a combination of both.
Combination of both.
Okay. Again, like it's a happy accident. Okay. The good news was for me, I was the first Indian guy at any network. Ranjan Kapoor went after that. Lots of people went after that. Okay. To get onto a global management board. Okay. It was a party.
Really?
I was doing acquisitions in Latin. We were traveling all over the world without doing anything. Okay, so board meetings in New York. And look at the learning for me. The learning for me was stupendous.
I'm sure.
All right, global pitches happening for Reckitt Benckiser, global review meetings happening on Intel. And, by then India was also getting into fashion. So, but the fact that even if not all the board members had to go, 3, 4 people to go, they would say, they call the India guy. Okay, because they're all learning about India.
Correct.
So for me, it was fabulous. For Havas India, not so much.
Why so?
Because you take your eye off the ball. All right. Like, for example, I had a great strategic leader in Suman. I had a great financial leader in Vijay Lakshmi, who was my CFO. I had a great media leader in Ramani. I didn't have a great creative leader.
Okay.
And I had never run an advertising company without a great creative leader. No.
So there was
There was no creative leader. And B, I was never there.
because you're constantly busy with your other assignments.
And enjoying myself. Okay. So please understand, right? I was having so much fun that I ignored the creative product of the Indian company. And I think that led to slower growth.
Got you.
Okay. Because it was still a baby.
It needed a
It was
nurturing-
only 5, 6 years old. Because he was successful and high profile, I assumed we were settled. But we're not settled. You're never settled. You have to keep reinvesting. And I think, like I said, my biggest personal success, going on the global board, going on this, and Ranjan Kapoor, who I respect, I thought he was the best manager in my generation. Yeah, older than me, but by far. But he's asking me, how do you do a global board? So for me, it was a big high.
Absolutely.
But for my company, not so much.
So you sort of
But right?
took your eye off the ball.
Yeah. And I think they're one of my regrets. Now, I think that Havas later on did add value. And I like the new management and they're doing good. And it makes me happy. I keep seeing like we're successful here and we won this media page. And I'm
So are you involved in
MPG letterhead, yeah. Sala, there was no company only, yeah. Nothing about Havas Media. I mean, all smokes and mirrors, yeah. But over a period of time, they've developed, they've grown, they've done well. Am I involved? No.
No, okay.
I never go back. I think that is wrong. Okay. Accepted that I founded this in a room 10 feet by 10 feet where I sat with my secretary without a mobile. There were no mobiles in those days. I had to go to Vodafone and pay 16 rupees 80 paisa per minute.
Oh my God.
That's what it cost in 996.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I had to beg my friend when I started from the office. I had to beg him for an extension to his landline. All right. We started frugal. I've always been frugal. Unlike until OH Media, where it was like, periodically, paisa pheko, tamasha dekho types. I've always been very frugal and,
So Ishan, now you've had a lot of success in your life, professional success. What are 2 or 3 things that you think held you in good stead? And you would sort of give it as a mantra or a philosophy to other
So
people.
you hinted at that when you talked a lot about cold calling. You hinted at that, okay, which is you have to take your work more seriously than you take yourself. And what happens is, because there's so much hype about us in media, not anymore, but in my time, my God, you open brand equity and, our photographs are there, and Bombay Times, our photographs are there, and Economic Times, your photographs are there. You start believing your own nonsense. All right. And I think that gives you I am too big to do this. I am too senior to do this. All right. A very big mistake. Your job is service. Your job is to look after your people. Your job is to look after your stakeholders. Your job is to give customers value. I have all my life, once a month, met all my key customers. But I never lost customers, by the way. I took my eye on the ball on quality of work, but I never lost customers. I think in this industry, except for global alignments, I have never lost a customer. Let me think before I speak. That's a tall statement. I think it's true.
Oh, you okay? Wonderful.
I think it's true. I just I don't want to say, I never lost a customer. I've never been sacked because once a month I would meet. Even if I was the global portal 20 days a month, 10 days I was in India. I would zip across the country. Lunch, tea, coffee, review meeting, dinner. They were friends of mine. I had my customers in my Rolodex. Yeah. That's when we had that unfortunate I mentioned earlier. I didn't have a single customer. Yeah. And the customers knew that they could call me whenever they wanted. Yeah.
So a deep bonding, a deep relationship with the customer, kind of
With value.
with value,
But not PR.
Yeah,
See, what I'm saying is
exactly.
the danger is if you do PR,
Uh,
have big parties. No, have heart to heart. Yeah.
you have to solve their problem.
I
make
know
the
once
business
you were in
works.
trouble in Philips, and Mr. Ravi Khan, who was a client then, Tata's, Ravi is still a good friend of mine, called me. And much older than me again, he's 10, 15 years older than me. And he said, देखो ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. ये forced marriage है. Okay? Don't take it for granted. Because forced marriage में भी divorce होता है. Ravi has this thing like your father-in-law, my father-in-law are connected, and Ishan knows Go Boonstra, and the very wise advice he gave me. I said, ऐसा नहीं चलेगा. He says, तुम्हारे लोग दो तीन चीज है ठीक नहीं कर रहे हैं.
Oh, really? Okay.
And he said, हमारे भी लोग ठीक नहीं कर रहे हैं. So he said, we should sit, you and me. And we should say, what do I need to correct my system? Because there people were saying, what do you think? Yeah, we were so happy at Lintaz and, the color TV boys, because they'd come from Lintaz, we had the audio. And my people would say, who? Anyway, you can't do anything. Yeah. That's not a way to build a relationship.
Correct.
So you sit and you solve the issues. You counsel your people. And if you're a wise client like Ravi was, he counseled his people and said, just because it's forced doesn't mean we can't have fun. So then we started doing good work again. So I think that there are a lot of failures, regrets, more than that, a lot of learning opportunities. Because each one of these is a learning opportunity. Being broke at work, big learning opportunity.
Really? Okay.
Because I knew I shouldn't be doing it. I didn't trust my own judgment. Okay. Whereas I was being pushed by my private equity partner saying, यार और पैसा डालना है, खर्चा करो, खर्चा नहीं करेंगे तो बेचेंगे कैसे? Their whole thing is like, forget about profit, yeah, build, operate, nurture, yeah.
Bill no proof.
1, 2 ka 4. I have never believed in that. In Havas Media break even year 4, I broke even year 1. I like to feel secure, yeah. It's your middle class roots.
There's a different business model the P guys follow.
And that's what later on, some of these P boys were friends of mine. They got me to talk to their people, and I won't name them. Some of them are huge today, multi-billion dollars when they were starting out. And I said, you guys need to understand, okay, business operates like this. You guys operate like this, okay? Euphoria, disaster. Euphoria, disaster. Euphoria, disaster. So you need to get lucky, all right? If you're in euphoria, it's somebody else's disaster. If it's somebody else's euphoria, it's your disaster, okay? Business doesn't work like that. Business works in long-term continuity and all right.
Correct.
So
It's a linear
yeah,
graph.
because you guys want shortcuts. Isko बेच करके इसको डाल लेते उसको ये करते. Doesn't work like that. You destroy value.
True.
All right. So I think that one of the things, at least, that's been learning for me is that if you have a certain way of doing things and it's worked for you, out of greed or fascination, don't immediately change your value system. All right? Because it's not going to work for you. Yeah?
Got it.
All right? It can't. Maybe it work for somebody else. But it won't work for you because you're not wired like that.
So one more point I want to touch about is because you've been a successful entrepreneur is risk taking.
Risk taking.
Because entrepreneurship and everything
is risk taking.
How do you deal with that? Because you need to have a big stomach for that, and do you?
See, when you're young, you do it because you don't know any better. All right, let's be clear. If I was logical, I wouldn't have joined contract because 8 people had refused that job. After me, it became a terrific job to have. It became a stepping stone to becoming head of HTA. Okay, but
But you took the job knowing that the risk reward ratio would sort of
I used to look at the reward.
yeah. So
The reward was fantastic.
correct.
All right, and kitna risk hai yaar. Ultimately, when you're young, you're very employable. Yaar. It's after 50, 55 that you be very careful.
So
At 35, 40, you're employable, you have an MBA, you know people, you're
but say you're pretty professional on the employee side. I mean, it's an but then when you become an entrepreneur, how did you manage risk?
So what you
Anything-
do is you tell yourself what will happen if it collapses. Okay. And come in my generation and much more in this generation, what we have is much more than we thought we'd have.
Hmm.
Okay. And you have to manage your needs. Because the truth is that you are rich when your money is more than your needs, and you're poor when your needs are more than your money. It's got nothing to do with how much money you have.
Correct. It's some
Okay.
those two.
So you have to manage your needs. If you manage your needs, you'll always be rich. I have felt rich all my life. Let me tell you. Okay. Because in Shriram, I own 2 pajamas, 3 kurtas, I could barely, I mean, luckily my brother and sister were working. All my bad habits used to come from there. Yeah. So nobody spoke about it. But the thing is that how much can go wrong? So I think that once you shouldn't be foolhardy, and you shouldn't do it for the wrong reasons. Okay. Like the only venture where I made much less money than I was supposed to is the venture I started only because of money. How stupid is that? That itself should be a learning to me at my old age.
Ironic, actually.
Okay. I think the deal was done in this $1 million, that $1 million is done here. Yeah. Like, फिर ऐसा करेंगे, फिर ये करेंगे. Right? So, if you do it for the wrong reasons, if I'd been passionate about it, fine, it failed, yeah.
Correct.
So, first, it must call to you when you do something. That's why I told myself, I will only do what calls to me. So, climate called to me, skilling called to me, education called to me. But I wanted to stay engaged with industry. That's why I joined the bank board, or I've joined an IA fintech thing in London. Okay. That's because I wanted to learn about these things. I don't want my brain to stagnate. Yeah. Okay. But you have to do it. You have to ask yourself why you're doing something.
So, Ishan, as we wrap it up, how do you contrast advertising and media in today's world as compared to in your heydays? Any thoughts on that? It could be processes, technology, campaigns, whatever. Just as a now you're a third party. How do you sort of contrast
I
both
think
the runs?
we have to keep our minds young. Okay. Anybody you talk to, technology has to enter the discussion. Today, if you go to any conversation or conference and they don't say IA, okay, it's not happening.
Yeah,
But the point is, I don't think that this industry's minds at the moment are adapting as fast as the world is adapting.
okay.
If you look at it, I believe that this industry should be 5 times its size. And our lunch is being eaten by people who don't even know this industry. It's being eaten by Accenture. It's being eaten by Bain and McKinsey. It's being eaten by Ernst and Young and KPMG.
All the consulting firms are sort of
The big four, what used to be accounting, but actually consulting now. A lot of the money they are getting is what should be coming to our industry. All right. They came into that tent like camels. Okay. They're all friends of mine. But they gussoed and gussoed and gussoed and gussoed, and they're like suddenly जो इसमें growth आया है ना, वो malai has gone to them, yeah. Not to the media and advertising industry. And I feel sorry about that. All right. And somewhere we can hate them, curse them, but somewhere we'll need to introspect that Why did we allow it to happen? We have the IAF folks, the same guys who go there. Why is it at 29 I could make a Rahul Bajaj listen to me and not McKinsey? And today, a chairman of a group, advertising group, has to deal with the non C suite.
Hmm.
And the McKinsey is talking to the C suite about branding. Why should they be talking about branding? It's our fiefdom, yeah.
So we are now entered a territory.
We have got into process. So now we talk about efficiency and process, and but that is not what we were. We were about brains. See, what I'm saying is that we are talking about size and process and digitizing this thing and delivery and performance marketing. वो तो AI कर लेगा 10 साल के बाद यार.
Paji करने का है.
It is the right brain which will survive. Left brain will get automated. We are saying how good we are at automation efficiency. वो तो AI कर लेगा. So if I look at 2020, 2045, 20 years from now, I'm saying जो बच्चेगा वो दिमाग है. पर हमको तो दिमाग के लिए कोई पैसे नहीं देता. We're not getting paid for our brains. We're getting paid for our operations, whereas the money is going to be in the brains. Well, that is a frightening thought. And I say to someone who loves this industry, I still go to every all these guys call me. I love them. They're all my friends, my community. I'm not even being chairman for 10 years this year. Okay. 10 years is a long time. It's 2 generations in advertising. But anytime they will call me, I will go. I owe a lot to this industry. But you can't tell a 25-year-old, come to this industry, I'll change your life. Whereas Alec Padamsi did it to me at 23, 24, he did change my life.
God.
So, with what promise do I change, assuming I'm chairman of something, okay, in advertising? With what promise do I go to the IIM or the best the IIT is and tell a 25-year-old, come to me, I'll change your life? I don't know.
Okay. So
That's frightening.
that's frightening. Well, with that thought, I think we'll wrap it up. Thanks so much
Thank
for
you.
being on the podcast.
You made me think so much about the past, yeah. I'm normally a person who doesn't introspect about the past. I just move on. What's my next 3 years? What's my next 5 years? But it's been fun.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Cheers.